Hey, what's up guys? Today we're back with Photoshop part 4 of our lesson. Let's get to it. Hi guys, and welcome back to Photoshop part 4 of this tutorial. Today we're going to be working with text, and we're going to talk about what text is, and we're going to do a cool t-shirt effect that you can sell, okay? And make your own t-shirts. And you can do this with just about anything. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, everybody, welcome back to part 4 of the tutorial for Photoshop for beginners. And today we're going to be going over text in Photoshop. So what you want to do when we're dealing with text, we want to open up a new canvas. So create new canvas. Now, if you remember, this is where in previous tutorials where I showed you where you can set your canvas size. Okay, in this case, I'm going to go with 1920 by 1080. Now, this is a previous canvas that I already made. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and hit create. So that's going to bring up a blank canvas for me. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to talk about the text tool. Over to the left is your toolbar. Okay. So in this case, we're going to select the text tool. But before we do, let me just tell you about a couple things in the text tool. Okay. You have the horizontal text, and you have the vertical text, and you have the vertical text mask tool, and you have the horizontal type mask tool. Okay, we're not going to worry about these two too much right now. So right now we're just going to go horizontal. So we're going to select the horizontal text type tool. What you want to do is click and drag and open up your text box. Okay, so now okay, so let's talk about a couple of things, right? So in this top line here, this is where you select your type of fonts that you want to work with. Now you can download different types of fonts and you can actually install them on your computer. There's free sites out there where you can do that. Okay, so let's take a look at some text that I have here now. Now this is horizontal. So what I've done is I've made my text big so you can see what I was talking about. Now, there's a couple things that you can be aware of with this menu here. Obviously, that's how big you can make it. This, where it says crisp, this is what you could do with your text. You can make it smooth, strong, sharp. Me, I like for the text to be crisp. Okay, and here you can work with your paragraphs. Okay. This is your color of your text. So if you want to change the color of your text, you can definitely do that. Just click in this little square here, and then it brings up the color palette. And then you can change the color of your text by moving the little icon around. Oh, hang on a second. Maybe I have to highlight it. There we go. So you can change the color of your text to basically whatever you want it to be. So these are your reds, greens, blues. That's basically your color palette. See, now all you have to do is move it and it'll change colors to where you want the color to be. And obviously here, what you can do is you can take, if you notice the pointers here, they change, right? This is going to be important later. So let's say you put the pointer about right here, right? So basically what that does is that can rotate your text. See that? I'm just going to undo that. So if you put it there, it'll rotate your text. Okay. Now, a lot of times when you're dealing with text and you're dealing with different types of backgrounds, the Shift key and the Alt key is going to become important. Okay. So remember that. So now you can work with vertical text as well. Here we go, vertical. We'll grab a vertical text and then we'll drag that out and then we'll type vertical. Change the color, make it. Now, one of the things that you can do, and we're not going to talk about that in this video because it's a little bit more complex. I just want you people to be familiar with basics of the text tool. This is your accept key. Okay, so once you get the text that you want, you can hit the accept key. So basically that's your text tool in a nutshell. Really, it's really simple, because we're about to get into something a little bit more complex. So I'm going to show you something today. If you want to have a t-shirt business, I'm going to show you something with the text that you can make your own t-shirt logos, pictures to go on your t-shirts. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and create a new canvas. I'm going to say 1600 by 1000, I believe. I typically like to make my canvas the same size as the photo I downloaded, so that way it looks decent in the background. And so we'll go ahead and click create. So now what you want to do is you want to import the photo or open the photo that you want to work with. Okay, in this case I'm going to choose a photo from outer space. Now if you look, that takes up my whole canvas. Now if you remember from the previous lessons, what did I say about layers over here? Right? Whenever you're working in Photoshop, you don't want to damage anything, so you want to copy the layer that you're going to be working on. So in this case, you want to hit Control J, and as you can see, Photoshop makes a copy of that layer, so you do not damage what you're going to be working on. Okay, so for the next thing, what we're going to do, we're going to have to add a fill color, okay, for this text effect to take place. So you want to go down here to add layer, okay, and you want to go to solid color. Okay, now I don't want you to be worried here, because it's going to turn your screen totally black and it's going to seem like the image is gone, but it is not, and I'm going to explain why in a second. So being that your color is black, I'm not going to work in black, so let's work in something that we can see. Let's change it up to white, and then your screen is going to turn white, and then select OK. Okay, so what happened here is that being that we added a solid color, if you look over your layers panel, what it did was it moved the solid color in front of these images here so you can work with your text. Okay, so that's why you're not seeing your photo right now. Now if you click off of that and then turn it back on, you can see your photo. So basically it's in the background, and that's all that is. So don't be alarmed. I suggest if you're working with a dark image, then you use a white color. If you're working with a light image, then you use a dark color to do your texting in. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to drag this layer here down below layer 1. So you want to click and hold, left click and hold, and then as soon as it highlights, you want to drop it. Okay, now that'll bring your photo back to the foreground. All right, so now you want to click on layer 1, and now here's where we're going to add text. Okay, so you're going to add your text. In this case, we're going to do horizontal. So let's go ahead and choose our font. Okay, now being that this image is kind of dark, I'm not going to type with black text. So I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go up to my color palette, and I'm going to change this now to white. Okay, remember that brings up your color picker again. So simply grab the little circle, bring it up, and that changes your text to white. Okay, so now that we got our color set, now what you can go ahead and do is click inside the document, and then you want to add your text. Now in this case, I'm going to just use my cousin's name. I hope she doesn't mind. Okay, and now you have your text in white on the photo. Now to accept the text, remember, whenever you're dealing with text or anything like that that you're automating, you want to go ahead and accept the text. Remember, when you're working with Photoshop, anything, and you do any kind of modification, you always want to hit the check button that accepts your text. Okay, now as you can see, the text is in front of the image. So if you look over here, you'll see where your text layer is, okay, and then you'll see where your image layer is, okay, and you'll see where your color layer is. So all these layers, remember when we first started talking about Photoshop, I said Photoshop is like onions, right? You have layers. So when you're working, think of everything as layers. Okay, now in this case, we want the type or the text that we typed below layer 1, okay, because we want to bring the font where it should be. So back over to your layers panel, go down, click, drag, And right before you get underneath right before you get underneath layer 1, drop it. Okay, so now that puts your text where it should be. So now the image, right, is hiding the text. So now we want to do something with the image, right? All right, so now what we want to do is we want to place the image inside the text. So what we want to do is click on menu here, and then we want to create a clipping mask. Now watch what happens. Boom. How cool is that? Now your text is within your image. Okay? Okay, so now you've clipped layer 1, okay, to the text. And the way you tell that is you come over here, and if you look at layer 1 has a little arrow pointing down to the text, which means those two are linked together. So that's how you linked this text to be incorporated in this photo. All right, so if you remember from our last tutorial, I mentioned a menu item called free transform. Now that free transform is going to allow us to resize this text the way that we want it, and you'll see what I mean. So let's go over to our layers panel. We're going to click on our text layer, then we're going to go up to edit, and then we're going to click on free transform. Okay, so now what this free transform will allow you to do, remember, it works just like the transform tool, Control T, but it gives you more freedom to work with. Now when you're working with this, you're going to be using your Shift key and your Alt key. All right, so what we want to do is we want to move this to the center. Okay, now as you notice, if I move it, the image moves with it. Okay, and I kind of like that, but I'm going to move that over here. And what I want to do is I want to increase this. So I'm going to increase this. And I want to drag it out a little bit more. Actually, I want to drag that. There we go. Because I want to show more of the planets. Right. So I like that. And I hope my cuz doesn't mind that I used her name. I will ask her. All right, so I like that. So at this point, basically our image and text incorporated together is basically done. But there's a few more things that I want to do. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to that and select the check. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. And as you saw, I accepted the check mark. Okay, so that confirmed my transform. Now let's say if you have a spacing problem with your text. So if you look here, my text is still selected, right? So if I move this down between the text, you notice the icon changes, okay? Let's say if your letters are too close apart, my letters are fine, but I'm just gonna show you as a demo. If you wanna adjust the spacing between the letters, okay, you just hit Alt and you click, okay, and then you can move your left or right arrow key, then that can adjust the spacing. I'm happy with mine, so I'm going to leave mine back to where it was. But that's how you can adjust your spacing between the letters. And once again, when you're satisfied with what you have, accept it or click the check. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add a little touch to it here. I'm going to add a drop shadow to this text. So what you want to do is come down in your layer pane, and you want to click on FX, which is for your special effects. And then you want to click on drop shadow. What that does is it brings up the drop shadows dialog box. Now you can play around here, but it gets pretty tedious. So I would probably recommend what you do is kind of move that to the side. And then if you grab the text, right, you should be able to add a shadow to it. How cool is that? And then you can adjust those settings accordingly. Okay, so here I've got a little bit too much of where I want the shadow to be. So I'm going to move that back in a little bit, about right there. And then I'm going to darken the shadow by adding some opacity to it. So I'm going to darken that a little bit. There we go. I like that. That refines that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy. And what I'll do is I'll select OK to close that out. Okay, so now if you remember from our previous tutorial, we talked about the old crop tool, right? Remember that? So we're going to be using that today. So what I want to do is I want to crop out the top of this and the bottom of this to get to my main background, okay? So let's go over and find the crop tool. There it is. And then what you want to do is just grab it. You want to bring it down to about right there, and then grab the bottom, and you want to bring that to about right there. Okay. And then what you do want to do is remember, hit accept. All right, so you hit accept, and Photoshop crops the effect out. Okay, so I'm not good with this color. Okay, now you could leave that. It could look pretty cool for a t-shirt. And remember, you can add to this text. So in this case, it just says Wanda on there because I used that as just to show you this tutorial. But you can add something like Wanda's Bakery Shop. So you can go to your favorite t-shirt site and you can actually order. You can lay this Photoshop image that you made in the t-shirt manufacturer, and then they can print you out t-shirts, and you can do this for your business as well. Now, a lot of people just go, I get it, a lot of people can go to just those sites that you just choose and put what a t-shirt says. I get that, but it's really not custom, right? So when you do this is kind of custom. I'm not particularly happy with this color, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. Let's go ahead and go to the layers window. I'm going to click on the background layer. I'm going to double click on that, and then that's going to bring up the color picker. So I want to change this color. Now I don't know what I want to change it to, but I'm going to just change it to, let's say, yellow in the background, right? And I'm going to click OK. So that changes your background. Okay, so, but you can have the color be anything you want it. I just changed that to that color because I figured it kind of matched the outer space look. Or I can even go a little bit darker here with the tan and give it a little bit more depth that way. Okay, so yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I like that. That's pretty cool. So listen, guys, this is the end of this tutorial for text. There's so much that you can do with text in Photoshop. And this is just one of the cool things that I wanted to show you guys. Like I said, you can take this and you can have it as a t-shirt, and you can do your own name. I just chose my cousin because I know that she has a business out there, and maybe she can see this video and it can give her some ideas about her business. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the tutorial today, and make sure you comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get more videos, and we'll see you next week.